We're going to go to Matthew chapter 27. Matthew chapter 27. As I went throughout the week, as you see, it's been a busy couple of weeks. I've been here 21 straight days, and that ain't just walking through the door and saying, hey, I show up to the church building. No, I've been here for many, many hours. Even after work, I've come here and worked. And I'm lucky if I've made it in by 8, 9 o'clock. Sometimes had dinner at 8, 9 o'clock, and usually that was the only middle of the day was come 8, 9 o'clock. And weariness kind of set in, and I just really got tired. And this week it finally really Friday night really hit a wall, and then had to prepare for the funeral because I wasn't ready for that yesterday either. And of course then if you were here, nothing worked right. And then some people thought, oh, well, you've been moving stuff around. That's probably why, but that really ain't the case because we never touch the computers. The projectors unhook right there. They hook right back up. So, I mean, nothing really, the computer wasn't messed with, and the computer was fine, but it just says, I don't want to work. And I kept, it did, and it worked out. That's the way God does. He kind of fools your plans, don't he? There was a script, and even the little pamphlet. See, it said that I was supposed to open, and that ain't what we discussed. And then we get here, and John's expected to speak first, but in the little pamphlet says God had all different plans. It was just a fiasco, and he said, "Just watch me work," and he did. Everything come together, everything, and that's the way God is. But through it all, trying to get in tune with God's voice because you've been in that place that you're just so tired, you're so weary, and all you want to do is rest. And I hit a wall yesterday afternoon, and all week long the only word I kept getting from him was sacrifice, sacrifice. And I kept thinking, Lord, I don't want to talk about sacrifice. As a matter of fact, I kept going back to the scripture. He says, I desire mercy rather than sacrifice. I kept telling him that. I kept saying that, and I just said, Lord, I don't know how to go with sacrifice. And he said, no, I want you to understand something, because when you sacrifice, when you really see, because people don't understand sacrifice. They believe sacrifice. I cried out to Sam Friday morning. We were in here, and I said, there ain't much more I can do. I've given. See, people don't understand. Sacrifice ain't giving what you can. Sacrifice is giving what you don't have. Sacrifice is giving up something when there is nothing to have. That's a sacrifice. This is my last of, and if I don't have, I won't have it no more. That's sacrifice. People are willing to give something and give up something when they have plenty of it. You give up time if you got plenty of time. If you're sitting around doing nothing, it don't matter, right? I mean, looking around. Some people just didn't have time this morning. There was no sacrifice. And that's real. That's real. Right? But as I really pressed in last night and really went after God, he brought me here. He brought me right here to this story. And right before he ventures to the cross, and you kind of skip over this, because when you're reading this story, so much has gone on prior to this, and you're moving to the cross, and so much has happened, and so you kind of just go through this in a glimpse. But look at this story. It says, then the governor's soldiers took Jesus in the praetorium and gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him, and they twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on his head. They put a staff in his right hand. Then they knelt in front of him and mocked him. Hail, King of the Jews, they said. They spit on him. They took the staff, struck him on the head again and again. And they mocked him. They took off the robe, put on his own clothes on him. Then they led him away to crucify him. You know, if you watch the Passion and you really got an image of the beating Jesus took, and we know they beat him according to Jewish law, which said 40 stripes minus one lest they die. Because they believed 40 stripes, if you went over 40 stripes, you would die. That 41st stripe, you would die. And so it was 40 stripes minus one. They said, in case we miscount, we're going to leave it at minus one, and we'll stripe them 39 times. So Jesus was struck according to Jewish law, 39 stripes. And as I've said, if you've watched the Passion, it isn't just I'm going to go get the paddle and spank them on the butt. No, they beat them. The point was to beat them to the point of death so that they understood what they'd done was wrong and they wouldn't do it again. Are you with me? They wanted every scar when they looked upon their body, when they looked down upon it, every day the rest of their life, they'd look upon and say, this stripe and this stripe and this stripe. This is what he just endured. He just went through this. And can you imagine the battered, beaten Jesus? I don't care if it was Jesus or if it was Deegan, who you want to beat and to a pulp half the time, right? He makes you that mad. You want to beat him to a pulp. And it doesn't matter. Ain't he had enough? But now you're going to go and you're going to poke fun of who he is. You're going to go ridicule him. You're going to go take him down and make fun of him and mock him. You're going to go a step further. He's at the point of death. There ain't much more he can endure. But yet they said it ain't enough for them. They take him into a private quarter. They take him into the what really essentially is the barracks. It's just off the governor's wing there, and it's where they would congregate the soldiers. So it's out of sight, and it's all alone. They're not doing this in the midst of anybody else. But what do? They begin to call for a crowd of people. They call for all the soldiers because there's probably some soldiers on guard, but it says they called for all the soldiers in a whole group. It was the cohort. It wasn't the full legion. It was the cohort. It was the group that was there. It made of 400 to 600 people, 600 men, 600 soldiers, and they're taking turns and mocking him and spitting on him, gathering a crowd together. But as we walk through this, it's no different than our walk through life. And as we go through life, it's the enemy's process. You ever been through a process? Have you ever noticed that whenever one thing happens, you ever got something to do, 10 other things come along? They don't happen, Lord help me. They don't happen when you don't got nothing to do. You get a phone call, you need to come take care of this when you're in the midst of something. You're doing something. I won't get a phone call for 2 weeks, and I'll be in the midst of something, and my phone back there is just ringing. I'll go back, and I got 20 text messages, 20 phone calls. What are you doing? Where are you at? I need you now. Honest to goodness truth. That's the way it goes. When the snow was on, you know what? There was little things I could do, but I didn't have a bunch to do. You know why? Because there was time to do it. The snow's on. Right? You can't get out and do much, so I can take care of it. I don't got much to do. But what happens? All of a sudden I get all this stuff to do, and then stuff breaks around the house. Stuff's tearing up around the house. And how am I supposed to take care of all this? And what is it? It begins to process. It begins a walk. And this is what Jesus was going through. Remember, why didn't they just take him, arrest him, and just crucify him? Why not just get it done? Haven't you ever been that way? I know what I got to do. I know where I'm going. I hear Jesus saying this. I know what I got to do. I'm here to do something. Let's just get there. Let's just get it done. He'd been talking about it and talking about it. Let's just get there. You ever been in that place that you got something to do and I just want to go get it done. I just want to go get it done. But then there's that process. There's that process. And all of it means something along the way. There's something to be had in it. There's something to take away from it. Think about this. See, the first thing is that Jesus comes to is what? The questioning. Who are you? Jesus knows who He is. Jesus knows who He is. And He gets questioned and bombarded with it. He gets questioned, who are you? He's getting questioned by the Pharisees, the Sadducees. Then now all of a sudden he's taken to Pilate and then Herod and back to Pilate. He gets questioned. Getting questioned. Is this not our initial walk? Is what we question Jesus? It don't matter. We may question Jesus after we're saved. But the first place we ever come before we ever accept Jesus, you better question who Jesus is, right? I mean, you better question who are you, Lord? If you've never reached that place of questioning who Jesus is, I want. I was raised up in a church. I was raised up going to church every week, but I never questioned who Jesus was. I never questioned who God was. It was until I got to that place and I said, "Who is God?" And I sought to find out who He was. You got to be at that place. It's part of the process. It's part of the process. Who are you? Are you really who you say you are? Are you really the Savior of the world? Was you really God in the flesh? There's a questioning. And He moved from questioning. He moves from questioning to what? The beating. The beating. Why? Because when they questioned Him, they didn't like His response. Let's just be frank. They don't like His response of who He really is. So we're going to beat it out of Him. We're going to beat it out of Him. If the world don't like who you are, aren't they going to beat it out of you? They're going to beat you down until you're not that person, right? They're going to beat you into what they want you to be. And see, we walk this process just like Jesus did because He's taking a beating. He's enduring it because the enemy's trying to beat it out of Him. You give up, quit on it, stop on it. And see, that's what the enemy does. As soon as we question Jesus, we recognize who Jesus is. What's he do? Beat us down and say, you're not good enough to receive His grace. You're not, come on, somebody, because I know there's plenty in this room that's been in that place that the enemies beat you, and they'll do everything to get you to quit. Why? Because it's in the beating that we don't reach the cross. Because this is probably the toughest test for a Christian is when they're taking a beating for their faith. They're taking a beating for the things they've done wrong. Have you ever done something wrong and somebody look at you and say, and you call yourself a Christian? That's the first. And let me tell you, you know how many mistakes I've made along the way? And somebody can look at me and say, you're really a pastor? What in the world? Come on, somebody. He's enduring something to beat it out of him. Why? Because it's in this place that He says, quit. How many Christians reach this place and quit? They may still show up on Sunday, but they're not living the life. They'll walk out there with their buddies, and they're the same old man. Why? Because if they're different, come on. If they're different, then they're going to be beaten. They're going to be torn down. They're going to be an outcast. They're going to be torn apart. They're going to be spit on. That's why so many teenagers won't follow the Lord. They'll serve Him on Sunday, but Monday they're the same old kid. And the worst part is we say that and we point the finger at them. But how many is it happening in their own household and they see it day after day? They see it. And so then they say, well, that's the way Mama's done it for years. She's saying something, but she won't live it. She won't endure it. And then He goes out and look, what's the third thing that happens to Jesus? The denial. The denial. He ain't our king. He ain't our king. Don't call him. What should I do with your king? He ain't my king. He may be your. He ain't mine. He's denied. 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 See, because that's where we move to. If we endure the beating, the ridicule, then we get to that place that, are we really going to receive all that He has for us? Is He really the king of my life? Not a king of area of my life. Oh, He's my Savior. Yeah, just so you can get to heaven. But is He really the king of my life? Is He really rule and reign every area of my life? There's a big difference. And every time I take an area back, I'm denying Him that area of my life, and I'm denying Him just like the Pharisees, Sadducees, and this crowd of people that begin to deny Him. It's a process. And Jesus is walking through it. Because He says it's the same walk that you and I will have, and He said, I'll have to endure this. Remember, He stood before Pilate and said, I don't have to do this. Just paraphrase, right? Just paraphrase. Because that's my English version. I don't have to do this thing. You know what I did? I got all these peeps that come and rescue me. They love me. I dress all fine. I look all good. And they will come to my rescue. All I got to do is call on that legion of angels and they'll come and save me. Is that not what He said? He didn't have to. But He said, I want to. I want to show you you can overcome and you can get to where I'm at. But He reaches this place right here. Number 4. This is our focus of this morning. He reaches this place that He's mocked now. He's mocked now. He's mocked for what He believes. Does He not believe He's the king of the world? He is the king of the world, so certainly He believes it because He knows who He is. Oh, Lord, help me. There was no doubt Jesus knew who He was. I'm going to preach before I preach. What is the first thing they do here? When they bring Him in, they strip Him down. They strip every bit of His clothing off. What are they doing? Do you know something that teenagers get more than anything? Their clothes make the person. What they wear makes it. Is it not? If you wear all black, what are you? A goth or gothic kid. I don't know the name of it, right? You know what I'm saying. You dress all sweet and fine like this, you're the cream of the crop. You walk around with the leather jackets and all that. You the athlete. That's the ones the girls want. Come on. Tyler's the one strutting down that hall in his jacket and saying, yeah, look at me. I'm number, I don't know his number, but I'm the star. I'm the stud. The girl said, woo woo. Bailey's like, whoop! Get away from him. He's mine, girl. Come on. You know what I'm saying? And it don't stop there. They just understand it. We don't. Ask Brother Chris, he goes in for an interview. Somebody walks in, and they got nothing but holy jeans, and I'm not talking them $500 jeans that somebody put, I'll give you for 50 cents. I'll just sell every one of my pairs of jeans. Now, you wear my jeans in there, they're just holy, and you don't want to look down in the crotch area because they're ripped out, and they walk in, and they say, I want a job. And Chris is going to say, well, you better go on down the road there because I don't think this job's for you. My dad, who ain't in here, if somebody come to him for a job interview, dressed the way that they're going to dress for Chris, looking all fine and sexy like me, and they're going to go in there, and he's going to say, I think you better go talk to Brother Chris. This is a little different line of work. You're going to get dirty in that. Am I right this morning? That's your process that's going to go through your mind. So what they are doing, when they strip off his clothes, they're trying to strip him of who he is. He endured the questioning. He endured, oh, I'm going to preach now. He endured the questioning. He went through the questioning and he understood who he was. See, there's many Christians stuck today, they don't even know who they are. They're still questioning, who am I? Who am I in Christ? Who am I in am I just meant to sit in this pew? No, you're not. I told you got tools last week. They're questioning every day, who am I? They're stuck there. Then they get to the place they can't endure the beating because Jesus, but see, it's all the enemy. He's saying, I'm going to take you through this. I'm going to take it. And when he can't beat it out of you, you know who you are. He can't beat it out of you. And then he comes to the place, everybody's denying you. Because that's what happens. The enemy says, I'll take all of your old buddies, all your old friends, and I'm going to isolate you. I'm going to take you out of the crowd. I'm going to put you in the midst of a people that don't like you, don't accept you, don't want you. Oh, Lord help me, because you've been in that place. You know you've sat there, and you've been in that place that you felt like no one accepted you, no one wanted you, but it was that's where you were. And that's where they separated him. Just in case there was somebody in that crowd that would accept Jesus for who he was. And so they said, I'm going to take you to the place and I'm going to strip you down of everything that labels you. Why do you think we live in a world that wants to take away you're a woman or a man? You're Lord help me. Marlena told me last night, she said that there's a school in New York that are teaching their kids. Don't call your mom and dad. There's different terminology. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Stripping down the very being and the very fiber of who you are. If I can't get it out of you, then I'll strip it out of you. I'll rip it off of you. I'll take it from you. I take it from you. And they begin to strip him of all that he is. He's a carpenter's son, dressed in a robe of a man. But he's the Son of God and the King of Kings. And they said, we can't stand for that. Because if you're the Son of God and the King of Kings, then that means we must bow a knee. And we're not going to bow a knee. Did you know that that's what the enemy looks at you and says day after day? That's why he wants to stop you he wants to stop you from reaching the cross. He wants to stop you from coming and nailing the very thing you're carrying on the cross. This is why he wants to stop you, because if he ever gets you to this place that you quit in the middle, you never reach the cross, then you never ever fully am free. It's not fully gone. It's not fully surrendered if he ever gets you to the place. And so many people in this process of their life, they're stuck in this moment right here. They question. They begin to question because the enemy strips them of what they question their ministry. And so what do? They just go start something else. They just go over the next one. They question the tools that are inside them. So what are they doing? They're saying, look, if you're called to be a pastor, why would you settle for cleaning the pew or washing the toilet? That don't mean that ain't where you're going to start. Cleaned many a toilets in my day. I still clean the toilet. That's not what I settle for. And if he strips you of it, then you begin to settle, because that's what I'm supposed to do. How many believes you're here for a purpose? Let me tell you, you're here for a purpose. And some of you have been stripped right here in the midst of this place, stripped of who you are and lost sight of who you are because it's been stripped of you, and you don't continue on to the cross. And you quit right here. I come to Theodosia for a purpose. I come to Theodosia to accomplish something. And there will be a time and day. Lord showed me last night. He showed me in a dream the 10 minutes I got to sleep. And He showed me in a dream. He showed me getting on a plane. And He showed me and my wife. And our bags were packed. And we had somewhere to go. We had a place, a destination, and something to accomplish. And He said, it's time to get on the flight. It's time to get where you're supposed to be. It's time to accomplish that what you're here to do. He said, you got something to do. Don't stop now. It's time to go. It's time. Look, there was not many people on the plane. Let me tell you. There was some people got on their own plane and went their own way. You know why? Because they didn't want to go, and their place wasn't where they weren't going to do what they were supposed to do. They didn't show up to show out and show the power of God. They didn't show up and Lord help me preach this morning, because somebody needs to get this and grasp this. Because some people, they come in the midst of where they're at and they just stay encamped there. They put all their energy, all their time into something else. You know why we do this, honestly? As you can see, there's a nice spot here, nice spot there. It was really bad yesterday morning. It shows the leaks in this roof. It shows how leaky it is. And how much there's a spot over there that was this big around all down the wall, about that brown spot, about where Alice is sitting. It leaks so bad. And that's just over the sanctuary. There's so much in the kitchen, messing up everything in there. And it's nice to have a big, beautiful building. It is, but that's not why we do it. It's honestly not why we do it, because we could just as easily have church outside. Why do we worry about that sound equipment? Because you can sit up there, he can punch that bass and play them plastic drums, and we can bing, 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 and she can sing with no mic. I can talk with no mic. Why do we got Why do we do this? Why do we give it all? Why? Because we want something that draws people in. Why? Because if they're drawn in and something brings them in and something welcomes them in and something just feels, look, you don't want to walk in a place, do you?